Let me actually close down the Discord. No sound in the background. Okay. Here we go again. Ranking World of Warcraft raids. Let's start. So, because I want to upload on YouTube, I want to have a good start. Okay, so from personal favorite to never end. By the way, feel free to include your opinion, honestly. Because I will take everything into account as well. So they actually have all the way up to Crucible of Storm. So first of all, I'm gonna start with the one I've never done. I'm gonna include them down here. So let's see. Sunwell Plateau didn't do as current con. Temple of Ankejar. I mean, wait, why never did as current content and never ran? All of the same shit? I'm gonna remove this one. Didn't do as current content is enough. Okay, so Simon Plateau. I only did one boss, so I'm gonna put it over here. Temple of Ankiraj over here as well. Ruins of Ankiraj as well. Nixia's Lair. I'm guessing they mean the new one, maybe the old one. I'm gonna look at it as the new one because I've done the new one. Axaramas, I'm gonna include the old one. Never done. Molten Core, I've never done. There should be one more raid. Blackwing Lair. Okay. So that's it from the vanilla, which I've never done. So we can move on past that. Let's go now. Where am I gonna start? I'm gonna start with Vault of Arcanum. Loot Fiesta. Forgettable bosses. Never did them with the guild. It was always like pug raids. I don't think it's the worst raid ever because it wasn't as bad as some of the ones which I hate so much. So I'm gonna put it in D. So that's the second worst. Honestly, I don't have anything special to say about the Vault of Arcanum. It was just a lazy, uninspired raid with uninspiring tank and spank bosses which gave gear which you should never have had. So let's put it over there for now. Okay, moving on. Let's see, what do we have? Ulduar. Yeah, Ulduar. Probably my top 3 favorite raid. I'm gonna take everything into consideration, like how much I enjoyed the raid, how much I enjoyed raiding with people in the raid as well during that time, and all those kind of things which I can include into thinking about the raid. So during Ulduar, I was actually raiding with Reborn, and it was I actually joined them at the start of Ulduar, and I was trialing with them, and I was meeting people, I was having fun, everyone was being nice to me, and on top of that, the raid was amazing overall. And even though I was a new trial, I was actually raiding with almost the majority of the bosses. I remember being on the first kill of Algalon as well, and by the end of the tier I was becoming one of the main players. So I'm gonna go with Ulduar as personal favorite, definitely up there. Uldir. Okay, so Uldir. I raided with people I liked, of course. I had fun generally throughout this raid, and this is when I also first started serious streaming, so that has its upsides for sure. In general, I didn't really like the raid as much as I did some other ones. It had some cool bosses, like Gahun, which wasn't that bad. Mitrax wasn't that bad as well, I guess. Vectis was one of my healing favorites in this expansion. Easy S for me. You're talking about Uldir, Shema? Not sure if I would put Uldir in easy. Easy, like S is the second best, by the way. S is the second best, no way. Like there's many raids that go there. Ulduar. Okay, well, yeah, Ulduar is personal favorite for me because it was my favorite ever raid for sure. Easily my top 3. But Uldir, so it's not over here. It's not over here for sure. C ones are reserved for some of those that were just but okay-ish. I think I'm gonna go with Uldir under B at the moment. Just middle of the pack, sort of like a good raid. Enjoyed raiding with the people during that time. Had some fun, but A lot of the bosses were not so good. At least the raid looked good, like the structure of the whole instance was pretty decent. So it's gonna go to B for now. Paladin Hall goes on the same location as the Vault of Archaeon, again horrible, but forgetful. Okay, Trial of Valor. So Trial of Valor was when we started to have those issues in the Supreme Legion, before some people left. As well, it was a really hard raid. The atmosphere was not as good as it was in the months leading up to that one as well. I remember us wiping a lot. I remember us wiping a lot more than we needed to wipe on the Odin. I as well remember the issues we had on the doggy boss with people not knowing how to do the colors correctly. To an extent, I did like some of the things about the fights. Like, I can see what they were trying to achieve, but I hated the fact that Odin phase 1 was like a 10-minute long fight just to get to phase 2, even though you knew phase 1, you've done it like 200 times. And all you had to do was get to the next phase to progress, but you just had to go through that shit every single time, and it would actually kill your will to raid every so often. So based on everything, Trial of Valor, I think I would put it in the same, maybe not, I think I would put it into C. Cannot put it in the same as Uldir, because during Uldir I enjoyed raiding. During Trial of Valor, there were a lot of elements that made raiding a bit not so enjoyable, for a few raids at least. So it's gonna go to C for now. Okay, where to next? Trial of the Crusader, okay. Trial of the Crusader. That was just after Ulduar. I just passed my trial, Reborn. We got the server first, every boss. We got the Grand Crusader title. Anubarak 25-man Heroic was one of the more enjoyable bosses of the whole expansion. I didn't like the faction champions, but I did like the other bosses. I hated the fact there was no trash in the raid though. Like, even though some people actually like that sort of shit, I don't think a raid should be without the trash. So good bosses. The raid looked bad in terms of no trash. It was just one circle or room. A really bad boss in the faction champions. An amazing boss in the Anubarak. I think I'm gonna put it in A. Like, Anubarak 25-man Heroic, and in general that boss puts it up the gear. Without Anubarak, I think I would have had it under Uldir. I think you were raiding during this time as well, Shema. What do you think about Trial of the Crusader? Yes, well, okay. Okay, good thinking. Alright, Tomb of Sargeras. Okay, where to with the Tomb of Sargeras? Guild fell apart during that time. We struggled on every boss. People were dropping left and right because they didn't like the raid and the soaking required on every single boss. And just the overall difficulty of the bosses. If you ignore the first 3 bosses, every other boss was much harder than its similar bosses in the previous raids, for example. Mistress Azin, which was like the fourth boss in that raid, was one of the hardest fourth bosses in any raid like ever. Desolate Host, Maiden of Vigilance. Like, when you break down every boss, they weren't that bad, like they were just difficult. But combine it with the fact that we struggled a lot in the Supreme Legion back then, and it was our last year of raiding together. Like, so many issues, like, as well. I remember that summer, it was the summer period, and everybody was leaving on vacations. So our progress was so fucking slow. Like, we actually killed the first 3 bosses, like top 250, I think. Like, we really did exceptional well in the first reset. I don't know how or what, but we did really good on that one. And then came the second reset, and the Sisters of the Moon. and we spent weeks on that boss. And then we had people going in vacation, so we had to reprogress with some of the other players. Then we somehow killed it. Then we went to, I believe it was Mistress Azine, which was a couple of extra weeks. During her progress, we lost at least 3 to 4 players just out of... They got burned out of the game. They didn't want to raid anymore. Maiden of Vigilance was one of my least enjoyable bosses ever. I got so frustrated during one boss. I remember actually smashing my headset and just breaking it completely during one of those raids. So, based on all of that, I think this one goes into F. Honestly, I do think. The only good thing about Tomb of Sargeras is that by the end of it, I joined Omnicide and I was actually enjoying the raiding again. But that was only on Kill Jaden and I wasn't in Omnicide during the progress. So overall, all I did with Omnicide on this raid was like farm it once or twice by the end of it. So I can't really take that into a big account. Like everything else about Tomb of Sargeras, things for F. That's easily F for me. Okay. Throne of Thunder. No hesitations. Top 3 raid ever. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like almost every boss in there was enjoyable. Lation was one of the best bosses ever. Raden, even though he wasn't that finished, was a very enjoyable mythic only boss. Well, heroic only boss during that time. The whole like layout of the raid as well. The amount of trash. Like the feels of it, the lore behind some of the bosses, well, behind the last boss. The fact raiding in Supreme as well during that time was so enjoyable with people I really liked all the time. Well, I got my first kill video released during that time as well of Jikun, so that's a small plus. I think you're only supposed to have one personal favorite. Are you sure about that? If that's true, I mean, if that's true that I'm only supposed to have one personal favorite, then it kind of changes the way I look at it, because that would make one of these raids go into S, and there is no way Trial of the Crusader would be a step below them. That's the issue with me. In that case, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put Trial of Valor alongside Baradin Hall and Vault of Archaon, because that's fine. I'm gonna put Uldir into C and this one under the B. And then I can put one of these into the S. That actually sounds good. I actually enjoy Throne of Thunder a bit more than Ulduar, Shema. So I'm gonna put Throne of Thunder under personal favorite, I think. Okay, let's move on. Throne of the Four Winds. I don't really know what to think about this raid. Like, there's no trash. Second boss was enjoyable. First boss was okay. But just, this boss doesn't give me any special feelings, honestly. I have no special feelings towards this boss, towards this raid in general. Like, it's such an average. Like, it's right in the middle, I think. So if it's right in the middle, I think it's gonna go under the C, together with Uldir. I honestly don't know where else to place it. Like, I enjoyed raiding in Reborn during this moment, so that's the only positive about it. But the bosses weren't bad, but they were you would forget about them when you kill it, so I don't think I can do anything else apart from just put it over here. Trial of Valor, same as rank as Vault. I'm basing it on some other things. I'm not sure if you were listening from the beginning, Brojo, but the reason Trial of Valor is over here as well, because in my guild back then, it was the beginning of when we had some serious issues with the guild. Thus we lost a lot of players in the coming months, and it all started in the Trial of Valor. So just raiding during Trial of Valor wasn't enjoyable at all. That's why I put it under the D. If we are just looking raid wise how good the bosses were, it would probably be under the B. But based on the other aspects, I'm putting it under the D. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's move on a bit over here. Antorus, the Burning Throne. Yeah, Taurus. Trying to think. The bosses in general, except Ionar, were quite good. The last boss was one of the hardest ones we've ever done. Was it that enjoyable? Sort of was, I suppose. Agramar maybe wasn't as enjoyable. But the reason Antorus gets a big plus is the fact I think personally... One sec guys, I got someone on my door. Hello, Rezoss. Yeah, I'm doing some raid rankings, man. So I'm on Taurus right now. So, where was I? Bosses were generally good, except Ionar, and to an extent Agramar, because I just wasn't a huge fan of some of the parts of it. Had a really good end boss. But the reason I'm gonna put Antorus very high is because I think personally, Antorus was when I was playing at the top of my game. Thus, I was enjoying my Shaman probably the most. So, because of that, because I really enjoyed playing, it was also my first tier after like 7 years. Wait, let me think. Yeah, it was like my first tier after like 6 to 7 years, even whatever it was, when I wasn't an officer and GM and the raid leader. So I was finally able to enjoy raiding without the stress that goes behind that. I was really enjoying Antorus like so much that because of that, it's gonna go under A easily. Argus White was one of the best ones ever on the final boss meeting. Yeah, Argus definitely one of the best ones. Top 10 for sure. So that's why this one goes to A. I cannot really put it under S, because S is going to be reserved for like 2 or 3 raids. Okay. Where we stand now? Macteridon's Lair. I've done Macteridon's Lair. Like one thing I remember about Macteridon's Lair was it was my first 25-man raid, and I did it at like 3 AM. So I was AFKing around Shatra back then, talking with one of my friends from the higher guild, and he was like, we are making a pack group for Maggie's Lair. Do you wanna join? So I had school in the morning, and he asked me that about like 2 AM. So I was like, I mean, why not? Because they were raiding like Black Temple. I was like, you guys are going to kill it one shot, so yeah, let me go, maybe I get some loot. So we ended up going over there at like around 2. And around 3 AM when we were finished, we actually couldn't kill the boss because we had too many bugs. But generally it was, it was a really fun experience, 25-man raiding for the first time. But because of that, it's definitely not going under F, definitely not under D. I think I'm going to put it in the same line as Uldir and Macteridon and Throne of the Four Winds. I'm going to, if needed, I'm gonna change some of the things later because I feel there could be one line between C and D. Because I think Macteridon Lair isn't as good as Uldir and Throne of the Four Winds, but it isn't as bad as these 3. Yeah, let's keep it like that for now. Gonna change later if where are we? Bastion of Twilight. That was the first raid of Cataclysm, if I'm raiding with Reborn. I was playing a DPS warrior back then. It had Cho'Gall and it had Sinestra, one of the most, it wasn't the best bosses, but I really loved Cho'Gall and I really loved Sinestra. The other bosses were like okayish. The raid in itself was looking good. Like I said, I enjoyed raiding as well with the people I raided back then. Where do I put Bastion of Twilight? I think it's gonna go under the B one. Bastion of Twilight, the best of the 3 in tier 11. Are you ranking them on your experience? On my experience, Rezoss, on my experience. I'm trying to put everything into account, like how much I enjoyed the raid in itself, how much I enjoyed bosses, and how much I enjoyed like the atmosphere I was raiding with back then. I'm taking everything into account. Best of the 3 in the tier 11, easily Shema. The other one was one step below. So I'm gonna put Bastion of Twilight under the B. Same rank as the Trial of the Crusader. Okay, Dragon Soul. What about Dragon Soul? What do we do with Dragon Soul? Had some of the worst bosses ever. Least imaginative raid ever. They just reused the content they had before. Can't say they had all the bad bosses. Sort of liked some of them, like the 2 bosses on the left and right side, which I can't remember the names of. Morchok, I think it was. No, not Morchok. Morchok was the first one. That was the first one, Morchok. Did you answer that, Durby? I went AFK for a second. I'm ranking them based on my experience. Like based on how much I enjoyed the bosses, how much I enjoyed the raid, plus how much I enjoyed the experience, the atmosphere I was raiding during that raid. So like the guild, the people I raided with and stuff like that. Blackhorn is the only good one for me. I like those 2 on the side. I also like Blackhorn, but I think the fact Spine of Madness, Spine plus Madness, plus the overall bad looks of the raid, uninspiring design, it's not as bad as the Tomb, because at least I enjoyed raiding with people during that time. I think it's gonna go under the D. I think I'm gonna put it under the D. Kata PV raids are shit, that was the reason I quit any Kata. I mean, they weren't the best, yeah, that's for sure. They had some good bosses, but Cataclysm had a lot of issues when it comes to PV side, I believe. But I'm gonna put it under D for now. But honestly, this World of Warcraft and Barony, oh, I feel they deserve their own section, man. I'm gonna keep them under D for now. Okay, where to next? The Eye of Eternity. I didn't like it. This one is easily D. I just didn't like this raid that much. It was meh, the boss was... The last phase of this boss with the flying and shit was annoying as fuck to learn. And before that it was pretty easy. No trash, one boss. Imagine going from Rat fighting the Lich King to Kata raids. Yeah, that was a huge step down, that's for sure. That was a huge step down. And I do feel I'm missing like a couple of lines over here. Like having the Eye of Eternity and Dragon Soul under the same line as Trial of Valor just seems wrong, but then again having the Trial of Valor the same rank, the Uldir and Throne feels wrong as well. About Macteridon being on the same one as Uldir as well. Perhaps have one of them between over here. I'm gonna name like D plus maybe. D plus. And under D plus is going to be Macteridon. It's going to be... I think I think that's how I'm gonna do it for now. Ragnaros has legs. What? That was actually not too bad. Come on, I actually like that. Okay, anyway, moving on. Where can I start? Onyxia's Lair. Now, I wasn't sure if they were thinking about the Vanilla WoW, which I've never done. I think it's Vanilla WoW, like we can't look at this from the point of view of the Wrath of the Lich King. I think I'm gonna look at it from the classic point, which I've never done, so I'm gonna put it under the Rendua's current content. Durby, you should download Chat Arena if you wanna read chat like that. I have it over here, as you can see, but I just didn't sort it out yet. Let's do it quick. Welcome to Chatterino. You can also switch... But I need to make an account, Rezoss? I don't have an account though. Oh, log in with your Twitch. I need to do that? Oh, okay, just this shit, okay. Can now close this and continue using chat. Is this it? Now open your channel. Oh, this is it. Ah, there we go. So wait, what do I do now? Can I just lock it somewhere? It's still gonna hide itself though. Now you can move it and read it like that. Oh yeah, actually, okay. Okay, let's do it. Okay, good one. Thank you, Rezoss. That actually helps a lot. I don't need to switch left and right a lot. And I don't need to turn my head to check the phone every... Okay, moving on. Where are we at? I know you told me I had it over here. I just forgot to check it. Okay, let's go with the Black Temple. Black Temple. S. I love Black Temple, honestly, everything about it. From the attunement, Illidan being the main boss. Illidan is like my favorite villain in the whole game. To the whole design of the Black Temple, you start from the sewers, you go step by step to reach Illidan at the summit of the Black Temple. I love the attunement questline, which takes you throughout the entire, not entire, but throughout so many dungeons, so many raids. You get to the end goal where you have to defeat him. There was just enough trash as well. Trash was dangerous, that's good in that raid as well. Bosses were generally fun, not all of them, but there were a lot of good bosses. Like the Council was good, Mother Sharaz was a unique boss in its own. The Reliquary of Souls as well, really good boss. Brutalus wasn't that good, but like the only boss I didn't like too much was Shade of Akama, but at the same time, Shade of Akama it actually anyway, all that combined with the fact I was enjoying my raiding a lot during this time as well. I got accepted into... where was I raiding during this? Oh, I was raiding with Legacy of Might. With one of the legendary GMs of my time. Tarandor. So this one goes under S for easily. Like, because I'm only gonna put one raid into personal favorite, it's gonna be this one. Okay, moving on. See what's that fire? Is that your rankings were? Or is that somebody else's?
He's like an old caretaker, takes care of all the cows, fences and everything. So I wrote
You have Throne of Thunder and Uldu. Wait, you have Bastion of Twilight under A? What? No way. ICC on C. Like, I just don't get Bastion of Twilight under A. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion. I do agree with Throne of Thunder, Ulduar, Black Temple, Boreklo, Karazhan, Serpentine. Tunnel, I've not done it seriously, so I can't put Temple, I didn't do seriously. Blackwing Lair, I didn't do seriously. I agree with a lot of them on the first 3 rows. The other ones are too much for me to check right now. Okay, let me see. Blackrock Foundry. Wait, the problem is when I click on it to move, then it kinda hides. If only I had something to lock it into place, so it cannot be hidden. I can actually just do this. Just change Alt plus Tab. Should work out as well. Okay, Blackrock Foundry. Blackrock Foundry is one of my best raids ever. Like, I think that's the time where I enjoyed raiding the most outside of Throne of Thunder. I really loved the whole like roster that we had back in Supreme Legion during that time. Plus the raid in general had some of the best bosses ever. So this one easily under S. Shema, I'm gonna break the rules, Shema. I cannot have Blackrock Foundry not in the same line as Throne of Thunder. So I'm gonna have Blackrock Foundry and Throne under the same line. But that's it, only them two over here. Blackrock is one of the best raids made. Yep, for sure, easily, man. Throne of Thunder, Blackrock Foundry, Uldor, Black Temple for me, easily. Okay, moving on to Graulol's Lair. Like there's one anecdote which puts Graulol's Lair higher in my list. Like Graulol's Lair was like my first or the second 25-man raid I've done. I was raiding with a guild called the Legacy of Might back then. There was this tank. He was about 45 to 50 years old, and he was raiding together with his wife in the guild. And then there was this kid. The kid was 16. So during one of the Graulol's raids, this tank of close to 50 was messing up big time. So this kid of 16 was yelling at him, like he was spamming the raid chat, just yelling at him. And this tank came out of nowhere and started yelling on him on the ventrilo that he could be his dad, and that he shouldn't be yelling on somebody as old as he was, because he might as well be yelling on his dad. And that's I know it doesn't sound as fun when I explain it like that, but that experience makes Graulol just that much better for me. So definitely goes under the same one as these three, for example. Graulol's Lair was only interesting due to the first boss design. First boss was, yeah, Graulol itself wasn't that fun. The first boss I actually loved because you had the warlock tank, I think you had the mage tank, you had the tank, you had the guy that had to be interrupted, you had to be spread as well if I'm not mistaken, you had to interrupt. And like the first boss in Graulol was actually next level design, man. You had everything, you had to do everything in order to Can you guess my favorite, Durbem? Ice Crown Citadel? How do you look it, Rezoss? Yeah, sure, tell me. Maybe Ice Crown Citadel, Shema? Actually, now when I think about it a bit more, Sver, because Graulol itself wasn't that good, I think that makes this raid go into C. But C is still good. It's under Uldir and Throne. So it's under some of the decent raids. Go to settings, okay? Where to then? Siege of Warhammer, okay. Appearance and tick. Oh, there we go, thank you. Siege of Warhammer, I'm gonna put it very highly as well. I'm gonna put that one very highly. Okay, let's move on. The Emerald Nightmare. What to say about Emerald Nightmare? I enjoyed raiding with people at least. It was the start of the expansion, so you had a lot of new players. It was back when before some of them became a bit toxic. The last boss was the worst one ever. I didn't like the eye boss as well. I liked what's the name of that DPS check boss? The one on the left side. Yeah, the bear, I can't remember the name though. Ursok. I like that boss, honestly. I know it was only a DPS check, but I sort of like the design of that boss. Like, it was a cool boss. I also liked Scenarios. Scenarios was not bad. The rest of them... What do you mean you suck? I liked Ursok. Leave me be. I was a tank back then, it was 8 for me on the start. Yeah, I'm guessing it wasn't most fun for the tanks, but as a healer I enjoyed that boss. It was actually very healing intensive. You had to really manage your mana carefully in order not to go home too early. had to plan your CDs. On top of that, even if you did everything good, I remember our first kill was, I think, wow, couple of seconds before the enrage hit. But like in general, this trade wasn't that great. So based on all of that, I think this one goes under D+. So it's not as bad as these 4 over here, but it's under the same line as some of these bosses. Some of these raids. Okay, let me do Heart of Fear right now. Heart of Fear is one of my, not the most hated, but the least enjoyable. Like, I really didn't like the design of this place whatsoever. The bosses in itself, like the second to last boss, Amber Shaper, was one of the worst ones ever designed. I hated it. As well, this was the time when my PC broke down, so I was unable to raid for almost a month. Then when I came back to raiding, they were already progressing on like the 4th boss. So I also missed some of it. And then I came back, we killed Amber Shaper. The week or 2 after that, our GM decided to ninja the whole guild bank and disband the guild overnight. Also rename it to something funny. So I don't have any good memories associated with the Heart of Fear. I think because of that, Heart of Fear has to go to D. It's not as bad as the Tomb, but actually no, I'm gonna put it under D, under F I mean. No. Heart of Fear was horrible. Least enjoyable part of raiding for me was the first tier of the Mist of Pandaria for sure. Okay, the battle for Mount Hyjal. I'll be honest, I did not progress every boss in this raid. When I joined the guild, they already had some of the bosses that were killed. They had a lot of trash, a lot of waves, a lot of them were just repeating itself. Archimon was fun at least, sort of. I liked some of the quotes in this raid were good. That's the one thing. My bosses had really unique and cool quotes. So because of that, no, I can't put it on F, man. But it's under D. Like, it's just above F. F is reserved for the really shit raids, in my opinion. So this one is gonna go under D, I think. It's just above the F. Just above the F. But I didn't like this raid at all. Maybe if I progressed it from the beginning, maybe I would have had a different feeling, but for now, I think this is lots of trash, I know. At least there was no trash between the 4th boss and the Archimon. So that's the positive. Okay, where are we at? We are on, let's do Obsidian Sanctum. Somehow I actually sort of enjoyed Obsidian Sanctum because I was raiding. We were doing the 10-man and we did it the server first, the speed kill, and that was actually good fun. That was a really good fun. And the boss in itself, when you pull it with all 3 dragons alive, was actually really challenging. Obsidian Sanctum, the dragons, 3 drakes. Yes, it was. So I'm judging this based on the 3 drakes. Not doing it without any drakes. This one is a pure F. But when you activate the hard mode, and the fact I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed pushing that boss like in that first week. I was playing a DPS warrior, so it was all about that extra dips. So that makes this one definitely under the C at least. Maybe even B. Like either B or C. I'm gonna put it under B because I enjoyed that week like a lot. Like eventually later on when we were farming it, it actually became quite boring, but I'm only looking at the first couple of weeks of this raid. Because of the hard mode, it should be the... yeah. Not every raid had a hard mode. Yeah, it is under B. I did put it under B. Not only because it had a hard mode, but because the hard mode was actually quite cool. In my opinion. Okay, moving on. Where we at right now? Let's do Ruby's Sanctum. The Ruby's Sanctum. It's like one of the raids which I don't have any special feeling towards. Okay-ish. I think that's the best I can say about this raid. Okay-ish. I enjoyed raiding with the people in the guild at that time. Like I actually had a lot of good friends, which then quit the game after this raid. So perhaps it's linked. boss in itself was not so hard at all. I was tanking, I remember tanking this boss for a while, so kind of made it a bit more enjoyable because I loved tanking during that moment. Like Nax in Vanilla no one cared about because Kata was about to be released. I've never done Nax in Vanilla, so I can't really say, but definitely not something anyone enjoyed. Like it doesn't go under F. F is reserved for absolute trash. D is reserved for just above the trash. Yeah, it was something like that. It was a couple of months before the Cataclysm got released because people were just very bored farming Lich King. So they decided let's just give them like an extra boss to kill for the few months. D plus you say, Shema. I'm gonna listen to you. I was thinking between D and D plus, but I cannot put it under the same tier as the Dragon Soul and these couple of treasure raids. So okay, D plus is okay. Okay, where we at now? Let's do Hellfire Citadel. Hellfire Citadel. Generally, I loved it. The part I didn't like about Hellfire Citadel was Zver. If you remember, I worked on the corner during that summer. Well, I didn't work on the corner, but you know what I mean. So our progress was really slow during that summer. Then we came back to raiding in August, and we actually blitzed through most of it. We ended up on like top 350 or something, top 400. But then comes the negative. And the negative thing about Hellfire Citadel is that we actually had to farm it because we killed Archimon, I think, in October. I think the next raid was released like 12 months after that, 13 months after that, if I'm not mistaken. So that actually completely destroys it, in my opinion. We actually farmed it for so fucking long that it was during the progress. I also consider it quite good. Like Manoroth was one of my best non-end bosses, honestly. Manoroth was a really good boss. Tyrant Velaria as well. Gorfin was a really unique. It wasn't that amazing, but it was a really unique boss. It has one of the worst bosses ever, which was Hellfire Assault. Definitely one of the worst one ever. So when I take everything into account, I raided with people a lot. Like we really had a good group during Blackrock Foundry and Hellfire Citadel. Had some really amazing bosses. Had one of the worst ones ever. It was out for a very long time, but during progress it was actually a very enjoyable raid. Like the atmosphere of the whole Hellfire Citadel was actually pretty fun for me as well. I think when I take everything into account, it's either going to be A or B. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? A or B? Can this one go under the same wing as Antorus the Burning Throne? That's my question here. Or is it just a step beneath that? I think about Antorus, it doesn't have as many negatives. It wasn't out for such a long time, I think. Taken. Or maybe because our progress, I think our progress in Antorus took a bit longer than ours did in Hellfire Citadel. So perhaps that made it look like it wasn't out for as long. A for you. Okay. And for me it's between, but I'll take it on you. I'll take you on that. Okay. So I'm gonna put it under A as well. What if I have something between? Because here's the issue. I think it's better than the B. I think it's better than B raids. But I think it's like one tiny step beneath the A one. I'll keep it on A. I don't want to have like 20 ranks over it. I'll keep it for A at the moment. I can change it later if necessary. Where are we at? Yeah, I'm not gonna add more ranks. That was a stupid idea. I have more than enough. Okay, Mogushan Walls. Mogushan Walls. That goes into a similar pattern as the... Where is it? Where is that one? Where is the Heart of Fear? Okay, it's not as bad, but Mogushan Waltz, we started progressing on this boss. My PC broke. I came back. You guys, Shema, you guys in the whatever the name, alternate reality, you guys were progressing with the last boss. I came back with my new PC. I had hard time catching up to all the mechanics and the kills you guys done, so I kind of stuck on it a bit for that few weeks. The good thing about this raid is we actually, if you remember, I'm not sure if you raided with Shema, but we actually raided on our alts as well. On our alts, like me, Lubox, Zvair, I think it was you as well, Shema. Naviga, Dina, CK. So that kind of makes this raid a step above some of the other ones. Like, I didn't enjoy it at all in 25 man, but I enjoyed it in 10 man. Plus, I loved raiding with the people we did in 10 man. So I think as a 3-day guild. Remember we got like World 16 something on Spirit Kings. But did you? Honestly, I can't remember that. Like I said, I wasn't really raiding during those couple of weeks due to my PC, so I didn't really pay attention to everything. But this one is not here for sure. Not here. I think this one is a D+. It's a solid D+. Like, it had some good things on the 10-man side, it had some bad things on 25-man side. Due to my own personal issues with my PC, not being able to raid, having some harder time catching up after that. And also this was the tier when Castle disbanded alternate reality out of nowhere, so I think D+ is a good ranking for this one. Okay, that leaves us with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll get through some of them easily. Some of the easy ones. Terrace of the Endless Springs. Haven't killed Shao Fear on Heroic. I've killed the other 3. I wasn't a big fan of this raid at all. I'm not sure about you, Shema, because I think you also raided during this time. I think we raided together. You say F. The reason I don't want to put it in F is because I really absolutely despised these 2 raids due to different aspects. This one I didn't really despise that much, so I think I'm gonna go to D. The weapon gave me nightmares, never dropped. Which weapon are you talking about? The one from the 3rd boss, I think, Rezoss, was it? Li Shan? No. Oh, Shao, okay. Yeah. Shao here was way too long, but in my defense, I actually didn't progress that boss, Shema. So I didn't get to experience that. Perhaps if I got to experience that shit, it would go to F. But I think because of that, I'm gonna put it under D. Yeah, under D is a fair square for this. So now we have left. It was the weapon that you can have legendary gem. Oh, that one. Yeah, I think it was a dagger or something for the casters, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while, but I think it was a dagger. It was a one-hander for sure. I think it was a dagger. Okay, the eye. I had Kel'Thas, which was an amazing boss. Even though it was very much unbeatable in the first iteration. Outside of Kel'Thas, the bosses were okay, I suppose. Not sure what to think about the eye, honestly. Like, honestly, I don't really remember this raid that well. It was one of those raids that I've done, but sort of passed me by. You know, when you do something and it just passes you by, I don't think that's a good sign. It was my favorite raid because of the mount back in TBC. I mean, yeah, mount was cool, but can't really judge it based on the mount. I mean, I never got the mount during TBC, so the mount was pretty good looking, but like first boss, second boss, third boss, fourth boss, amazing. If you had the mount, you would have got. If I had the mount, maybe I would put this one under personal favorite, but I didn't have it. The eye was one of the better raids in the TBC. Like in that case, I think I can leave it under the C, Shema. I cannot put it up here. Like, for me personally, I didn't enjoy it as much, but I did enjoy it much enough to put it under the same line as the Gruul and Uldir. Gruul is, like I said, it's not really due to the design of the raid, but mostly due to the fact I raided with some good people and I had a lot of fun during Gruul's Lair, as well being my first raid in 25 man. Like, Gruul Lair has a special place in my heart. Rogue with Warglyphs and that mount back then, dude. I know, man. I think we had back on Thunderhorn, I think we had a hunter who was always riding that mount. Like, I was so jealous of him, like nobody else had it, only that one guy. And I remember following the guy around the town, just stalking him all the time. Because I'm never gonna see it. I'm never gonna get that mountain. Felt bad, man. And then I got it like 10 years later when I was farming it. Gruul's Lair sucked for me, I got ninja looted. Did you get ninja looted by that paladin back on Thunderhorn, Shema? I can't remember. There was a paladin on Thunderhorn who made groups. Then he would ninja loot the item during TBC. Human paladin, honestly I can't remember the name. He was actually like a really well known guy around town. He was actually a legend due to his ninja looting. You know who I mean though? Okay. Okay, let's move on anywhere. I don't want this to take the whole night. Gruul always had people ninja it. Yeah, Gruul was a good opportunity for the ninja looters to do their business. Okay, moving on. Serpentine Caverns. Actually, I kinda enjoyed Serpentine Caverns. Where are you still here? You know the name of the ninja looter during TBC? He was a human paladin. Like, he was really well known around Thunderhorn, like everybody knew him, but I know him, I can place him in my head. I just can't remember the name. It was Gruul's Lair wasn't that hard, honestly. It was paggable if you had some half decent group. The first boss for sure, second boss as well if you had people with brain who could spread as needed. Okay, Serpentine Caverns. Now, I enjoyed the layout of the raid. It was really one of the better raids in terms of design. Like, you go underwater, well not underwater, under earth. You found Lady Vash's hidden area. The way it's all connected throughout those platforms, and on the left side, you had those caverns. As well, the bridge leading up to Lady Vash, amazing. I love the idea of summoning a mount by fishing, that as well. As well, if you tried to swim around before killing lurker below, like the fish would actually eat you alive. So that was like neat little thing in the raid. As well, that boss was part of the attunement questline for the Black Temple, which you had to free that small guy. Generally, I really love the Serpentine Caverns. Like, some really good bosses and an amazing boss in Lady Vash. The overall design was good. The trash was okay. Had some cool little things like the bridge, like the fishes, summoning a boss by fishing. Going down to the raid using that big elevator, actually traveling like 10 minutes. I think due to all of that, I think this one goes to B. Alongside Trial with Crusader, Bastion, Obsidian and Serpentine. But I think that this one is an easy B. There's no way I can put this one and the I under the same category. So this one is slightly above the I. So let's put this one under the B. Okay, that leaves these raids. Firelands. I'm not sure what to think about Firelands. Ragnaros was amazing, but one of the hardest bosses ever. That made me question the point of life a few times during this progress. I think we had about 750 vibes during Ragnaros. Overall, like, the whole raid had some good bosses, like the bird boss was pretty fun. I also loved the spider boss. I was one of the rare few who actually liked Shanox, but that's because I was nagging my GM about tanking during those times, and I never got the chance. So we had one of these raids where one of our paladin tanks was actually playing quite bad, so they removed him from the raid, They benched him and actually told me like, Durbem, go to tank this boss. And I did it really well. So he was quite satisfied how I did the tanking. I was quite happy about that. Then as well, Balrog, which was a cool DPS check boss. I wasn't a big fan of Majordomo Starkham at all. As well, Majordomo was the boss where they actually removed threat from the game completely, I remember that. Because people couldn't hold the threat with the DPS having plus 100 damage buff. Wasn't Firelands full of ferals? The reason it was full of ferals was because of the stuff that made you transform into a fire cat. That's one of the reasons, but that stuff was actually amazing because it made you look like the coolest cat in the world. So that was a cool little thing about it. Kinda hard, I'm not sure really. Shema, you also raided. Like, what do you think, Shema? Where should it go? B or C? I'm leaning towards the C right now. Just because of the fact it was a really long raid. It took us ages to clear the... A for you? No, honestly, I can't agree. Penetrating Katasan. That's because of the guild. Okay, yeah. I was in Reborn back then, and like Firelands was one of the raids where we lost a lot of players and where we had to recruit a lot of scrubs, to put it lightly. But due to all of that, I think I'm gonna have this raid under C. But I just cannot have it in the same line as the Obsidian. Like Bastion of Twilight and Firelands were the same expansion, but Bastion was just a better raid for me. So I just can't have them in the same line. So I think this one is a C for me. Okay, that leaves High Mole. I know a lot of people don't like this raid, but I actually enjoyed Nightfall. I really did. Like Brackenspore, I know it took us a while to defeat him, and we had that Paladin tank, I don't remember the name right now, who just couldn't figure out how to survive. But this also had a Butcher, one of the best DPS checks ever. As well, what's the name of that? The Twin Ogrons, as well, a really cool boss. Korgat, from time to time, I like to check our kill video of Korgat. I actually loved him. We never got to kill back in Supreme Legion. We never got to kill Imperator Margov before Blackrock Foundry came around. But like the progress I've done during Imperator was actually really good, and I love the boss. So due to all of that, Hymal actually goes to A for me. Like, it's really highly rated by myself. Last boss on Mythic is one of the best. It is, honestly. Like, the only reason I can't have it under S is because I actually haven't defeated him. And because of the first boss. Like, the first boss was a joke. The first boss, and because I couldn't defeat the last boss, perhaps if those two things were slightly different, perhaps it would go under S, but I think now it's an A for me. Hymal was Asmo's favorite. Really? Well, like I say, it's a good raid. Not my favorite, but it's a really good raid. Even Josh's. What the fuck? Everybody likes Hymal? You know which one I didn't like? What's the name of that boss? The stone bosses, like when you kill him, he splits into 2. Then when you kill the 2, he splits into 4, and then he splits into 8. Like, that's one of the bosses which I didn't like that much. But like I said, Butcher, I love Butcher so much. Like, one of my favorite DPS check bosses, and as well, it's a really hard boss to out heal. So I quite enjoyed it as a shaman back then. So for that reason, no, not here. Not here. I think A is a good spot for Hymal. I think A is a good spot. Okay, while Rezoss is being FK, let's actually rate one of the... Let's rank Blackwing Descent while he's FK. Because Blackwing Descent wasn't any too special. Actually, wait, I'm lying. The reason Blackwing Descent was good in my eyes is because I was so proud of myself when I got asked to tank on Nefarian, and I was doing the arts in the last phase, and I actually got some compliments about that. That was like one of the first bosses where I was really proud of myself as a tank. So that's always it's always gonna have a nice memory for me. It's always gonna be a nice memory. Outside of that, we also were doing 10-man. I think this is the raid when Lubox joined our 10-man raid as well. I think you as well, Shema. Omnitron was the amazing boss as well. Honestly, this raid isn't that bad, honestly. Really not that bad. And I actually think I'm gonna place this one under the B. Like as well on Heroic. On Heroic this boss as well was... you remember how on Heroic Nefarian would join every boss? Then he would make some funny quotes. Then he would add something special to every boss. Actually, I found that really fun. You joined in Tot. Then it was Lubox who joined us during the Blackwing Descent. Yeah, I know it was one of you two. I know it was one of the two hunters. So Lubox joined us during this raid. But I kinda love this raid, honestly. My secret small love. I'm gonna put this one under the B. Under the B. Nefarian was a really good fight. Like I said, the tanking part made me feel really good. Omnitron defense system was a really good boss. Magmar on the left side was a really good healing boss. As well, you had to make use of the full toolkit by stunning, by kiting, even as a shaman. And I remember when I was doing that as a warrior, I had to actually slow them down and keep them stunned and whatnot. Maloriak as well was not too bad. Actually, Maloriak was... Maloriak was the first raid ever where I got benched. Like, I was dying like a madman because my PC was so bad that I couldn't see the puddles on the floor which Maloriak spawns behind him. So I died about 10 times before Songman had enough, and he asked me to like just go sit on the bench for the remainder of the night. So I went out. Now I was so fucking sad about it, and then the next time around I did whatever I could just to make sure I survived. I'm talking about Blackwing Descent. Blackwing Descent. So that was a sort of a negative experience which turned into positive because I learned a lot about repercussions of your bad play. So, taking all of that into account, I think I'm gonna put Blackwing Descent under the B. I really enjoyed it. Quite enjoyed it. As well, I played my Shaman quite seriously in this raid as well, in the alt raid. Like me and Dina were healing most of the bosses, and both of us were just sort of learning about healing. So that was good fun as well. Okay. Crucible of Storm, guys, we are just doing this raid, honestly, so I'm not really sure what to think about it. We didn't even kill the second boss, we only started like a few weeks ago. I think I'm gonna put this one... I'm not honestly sure, should I put it... Didn't do as the current content? Rate it on Heroic fight for now. If I'm rating it on Heroic, then it's gonna go to D, honestly. Maybe even F. Like, the Heroic version of this is horrible. It's so undertuned. Like, you can ignore a lot of the mechanics and still survive and kill the boss. But it's not as bad as the... okay. It's a D. I don't have too much to say about Crucibles. Maybe when we kill the two bosses on Mythic one day, perhaps I'm gonna say it's one of the best raids ever. But for now, based on the Heroic difficulty, nothing special really, nothing special. It also has a lot of trash in between the first and the second boss, which is pointless. Like, what's the deal with like 20,000 trash packs in between the two bosses? Waste of time. I did solve it, but I saw like how much? I saw 2 minutes of it. Like, based on the 2 minutes, it moves from F to D. Like, I think if I was rating this in the first week of Heroic, I think it would be F. But because I've seen like 2 minutes of the Mythic boss, I think it goes to D for now. It's a hard boss with the most wide boss ever. It is, but like, what would you actually do with this raid, Rezoss? Where would you place it? You are on the same boat as me. You also saw it on Mythic, you did a Heroic, but you didn't kill anything on Mythic. Maybe D plus or C. Let me see, what do I have on the D plus? I have Magi, I have Trial of Valor, I have Eternity, Emerald Nightmare, Ruby Sanctum, Mogushan. Honestly, perhaps you are right. When I'm looking at these raids over here, I think Crucible could go along with Mogushan, with Ruby Sanctum, with the Emerald Nightmare. I actually think it's fine. I think it's fine if I put it for D+. Magi, Lair, Crucible, Trial of Valor, yeah. Sounds about right, okay. I rank the raids personally by the difficulty. Method ranks it real high, but that's because I think the people in Method have a different way of ranking raids because their progress takes 1 or 2 weeks. So they can't really rank it on anything else based other than difficulty. So they have to rank shit by difficulty, whereas like the normal guilds like we take months into progressing. So I don't really like to rank raids only based on the difficulty. I like to take other things into consideration as well. But yeah, I think D plus is okay for now. Perhaps in 2 months time we're gonna put it on B because of how fun the second boss is. But for now let's have it on D plus. Okay, then we have Karazhan, which goes to Easy A. Karazhan was my first raid ever. It was the first raid I got invited by the Friends Guild. Then I got switched out after a couple of bosses because one of their hunters came online and they didn't have the spot for me. I love the raid, honestly. The atmosphere, the bosses, the trash, the way you climb the huge building from going from the side entrance. Going from the main entrance, climbing all the way on top of the tower where you had to fight Prince Malchazar. Like, I just like my first raid. I loved it, enjoyed the hell out of it. Got into my first guild during that. Tanked it, DPS'd it. Karazhan is just, honestly, I don't think I need to explain Karazhan too. Just one of my favorite raids ever. As well, it was a 10-man, which kind of made it even more fun. I want Karazhan in Classic as a 60 version of course. Yeah, deserves S. Easy, like Karazhan is the easiest one for sure, except maybe Throne of Time. Okay, moving on, we have some of the... Okay, let's rank Battle of the Zaralor first. And then we're gonna leave some of the legendary raids for the end. It was supposed to be released in vanilla. Yeah, if you remember like the stuff from Naxxramas, how do you teleport Karazhan when you pop it? F for me, yeah, because you didn't raid during that. Okay, but taking everything into consideration, Battle of the Zaralor. Like, let's put it this way. If I was ranking this couple of days into Jaina progress, I think this one would be A. Because even on stream I remember talking about how good Battle of the Zaralor is while we were progressing every other boss. I was really talking positively about it. And then came Jaina. Then, well, you kinda know what happened in Jaina. You know that. So, I mean, let's talk about it. Had some really good bosses. Like, I enjoyed healing the Gronk for the first weeks. I sort of enjoyed Opulence as well. Conclave was one of the more interesting bosses ever designed for healers, like ever. Like, it's one of the best healing bosses I've ever done. King Rastakan was sort of meh, but I had a special assignment where I had to go inside and heal the whole group on my own. So that kinda made it better than people who were on the outside. Mechatorg during progress was amazing as well. Blockade. Blockade was best healing boss in phase 1 by a country mile. Like, phase 1 of Blockade healing was up here. Every other boss was like down here. Then came Jaina. And then came 530 vibes. And then came people quitting. Stream kept me going, stream kept me happy on this one. It's either A or B. It's either A or B. Well, let's see, what do we have under A? Under B. Under B we have Trial of the Crusader, Bastion, Lydian Serpent and Blackwing. Whereas here we got Hellfire and Taurus, Primal and Battle of the Zaralor. Honestly, I think Battle of the Zaralor should be over here in between. F or D? No. I'm gonna have it under B, man. I'm gonna put it under the B. Because I enjoyed 90% of it, except the last 1 month of the progression. That's the only part I didn't enjoy. Was the reason I quit. Nah, I kind of liked it. It had some really good bosses. You hated it, actually. You actually hated it that much? Damn, man. I didn't think it was bad at all. A bit frustrating when it comes to progression and Jaina, but outside of that, it was okay. Anyway, moving on to the last 3 bosses. Last 3 raids, I mean. It wasn't fun, it was easy. Think it was easy? I don't think it was easy. Like, the only easy boss was the first one. Second one wasn't that bad, okay. Then from Grong onwards, I mean, it was as you would expect. We reached Mechatorg on the 2nd week though. Yeah. Then you quit. Maybe, I don't know, man. I didn't hate it that much. I personally enjoyed most of it, with the exception of the last boss. I'm gonna have it under B for now, so maybe I can change it later on. But anyway, moving on. Let's do Ice Cream Citadel. So what do we think of Ice Cream Citadel? One of the best ones ever, right? Arthas, Lich King, Bone Storm as well, like Bone Storm on its own. The only thing that kind of puts Ice Cream Citadel not at the very top is the gunship. Gunship was honestly horrible. Deathbringer Sourfang and the trinket from that boss. Sindragosa. Drawing ship. ICC is favorite. Yeah, ICC is amazing. I'm just not sure if it goes S or A. Let's look at it this way. The design of the whole place was amazing. It had Arthas, which was the most important lore character in the whole game leading up to that point. It had some really good bosses outside of Arthas. It had a bad boss in the joint ship. Had some amazing bosses on the side, like Professor Putricide. Also had the legendary weapon, which I got second on the realm, I think. The ship and the boss after was the ninja loot bosses. I kinda liked Deathbringer Sourfang, which was the one afterwards. The trinket from him, and the fact I was able to, like, that was a real DPS boss. I remember having a lot of fun competing with my guildies on the DPS one, on the DPS front on that boss. Even ninja looted Deathbringer. You wanna put it on A because Arthas wasn't good enough, hard enough. But like I said, for me it's either S or A. But I'm also leaning towards the A because I'm not sure I can put it on the same rank as Ulduar, Black Temple and Karazhan. I'm gonna put it on the A. On the A for now, I think. Most wanted item after the Shadow Monad. Yeah, definitely. Like, everybody wanted that trinket. Not only for the PvE, but also for the PvP, like it was the most sought after trinket in the game, man. I also had it. Okay, the reason as well why this one is on A, I had a trinket, had a legendary weapon, and I was playing PvP with one more Fury Warrior, and with one more extra guy, which I can't remember what class he was at the moment. And we were actually blasting through 3v3. Like, we were just killing everyone so fast, nobody stood a chance. and I enjoyed those couple of weeks of PvPing actually quite a lot. So that's another reason it's very highly rated. Okay, and that leaves two bosses, two raids. Siege of Orgrimmar and Nighthold. Okay, let's go. Let's do Siege first. Siege of Orgrimmar. Supreme Legion was ranked 126 in this raid. Our best ever ranking. Like, we were actually top 150 on this. So it started out with a bad boss. I didn't like the first boss. But everything after the first boss, like you say, Shema, was ramping up in difficulty slightly. Second boss. The three ones. Then Norushen, which I quite enjoy. Shout of Fear, not Shout of Anger, was a good boss. I wasn't a big fan of the Galakras. I did love the Scorpion boss as a healer. Then came the Dark Shamans, which overall was a really complex boss. Had you do so many things in order to make it out of that. General Nazgrim, which was a simple boss, but enjoyable. Lots of personal responsibility with the assassins and whatnot. Malkorak as well. Really good healing boss. Then came Siege Crafter. Like you, Siege Crafter was amazing. I'm never gonna forget, Shema, I solo healed the first kill on the Siege Crafter. That was... And then I couldn't repeat it on the second week. But I was so happy about the first week, man. That I managed to solo heal that shit. Spoilers of Pandaria was okay. Tok the Bloodthirsty was a really smart boss in terms of design. Especially as a caster, because you just had to know how to play on that boss. Else you would be always silenced and you would never be able to finish your cast. Siege of Orgrimmar was Prot Warrior with top DPS in the siege, but that's because of Vengeance. That's because of Vengeance. And then we go to Paragons of the Klaxi, which I found... I think that boss was actually underrated. I don't think that many people rate that boss as good as it should. Okay, it was a really good boss in my opinion. And then came Garrosh. Garrosh was amazing, man. Both in terms of lore leading up to him and then the fight itself. But so, good bosses, good design of the raid. We were at the height of our power in Supreme Legion during that, like rank 126. I was just about to talk about that, Shema. Then the negative, positive / negative, that Lae'zel joined our guild and he helped us achieve the rank 26. Like, he was an amazing player, let's put it like that. But he had so many issues with his attitude that by the end of the Siege of Orgrimmar, it was actually becoming bad for the guild before he left. But for the most part, it was okay. It was only by the end, but for the most part, it was okay. So I'm not gonna take that last month into account. I think it would be unfair, because for the 10 months before that, I really enjoyed Siege of Orgrimmar. It was also the transition. We made the transition from 10 men to 25 men, and we actually killed the 10 men server first. Then we killed the 25 man server first, 10 months later. 10 months later, and we got the realm first. That's how good the fucking Thunderhorn realm was on the 25 man raiding. We managed to kill him 10 months later on, and we still got the realm first on the 25 man. That was weird as hell, but yeah. Anyway, like, taking everything into account, this one should be going under either S or A, but I think I'm gonna have it under S, because I really enjoyed raiding during that time. Like I said, we were really good as a guild. We enjoyed each other's company a lot. But this one goes to S. And then we have the most controversial pick of mine, Nighthold. Nighthold. I would separate Nighthold into two sections. The section before the guild almost fell apart, and then the section after the guild recovered. So the section before the guild fell apart was the first maybe 1 month. We killed Crosus in that time, up to Crosus. But people weren't happy with progression, so we had a big chunk of players, like 8 or 9 of them, leave the guild pretty much overnight as we were progressing as we were starting to progress on the Spellbinder. So that first part, like the first month, I would, if I was rating Nightfall based on that, it would go to F easily, because that was my worst experience in the game like ever. I felt we were done for. I thought we were gonna stop raiding, and what's even worse, we were gonna stop raiding on a bad note. And then we actually decided to keep on going, and we recruited some really good players, and we pulled it out of somewhere, and we managed to finish into top 450, 500, something like that. I don't remember now. 500, and it was one of the most proud moments in my WoW career, that we somehow managed to recover after that point, get some really good players in, reprogress some of the bosses again because some of them had no experience, and then kill Gul'dan at the end, which was one of the most enjoyable fights I've ever done. Gul'dan, I love that boss, honestly, I loved him. So due to all of that, I think Nighthold goes into A. Like the part after the problems came is enough. Like those few months are enough for this one to go into the top section, almost the top section. Okay, so what do we think, guys? Anything needs to be corrected, or do we think this is okay? Like the top two are easily for me. Like this one, nothing to be corrected. The only thing I could maybe put Ulduar over here as well, but that's fine. S1 looks pretty good. A1 and Taurus, Hellfire, Primal, Ice Crown, Nighthold. Looks pretty good. B1 Trial of the Crusader, Bastion of Twilight, Obsidian Sanctum, Serpentine, Blackwing, and Battle of the Zaralor. What do you mean feels bad? You would actually put it under S. I was between those two, so I was between the two. I was between S and A. Alakir raid one down for me. Where is the Alakir? Man, as I think about it, Shema, I think you could be correct in that. I think you could actually be correct in that. I also think that I'm gonna move Ruby Sanctum one step beneath as well, because the more I think about it, the more I realize I actually wasn't a big fan of Ruby Sanctum, so Ruby Sanctum down to D as well. Okay, there's nothing to change about these ones because I've never done them. Like one thing, just one more thing is there any other raid that I hated so much that it deserves to be under F? That's the problem for me. Is there anything else over there? Dragon Soul? Maybe I'm thinking of Dragon Soul, guys, honestly. I know I said it had some good bosses, but now the more I think about it, the more I remember that this raid took fucking ages, because it was out for 14 months, I believe, or 16 even. It had some of the worst bosses ever. It had some decent bosses. Yes, I did Naxxon 80s, but if I'm ranking Naxxon 80, it would go to F Rezoss easily. So I'm looking at it from the point of view of doing Naxxon 60, which I've never done. So I'm gonna leave it on classic Naxxon. Onyxia, I was actually talking about Onyxia. I wasn't sure, like, should I rate it? Because Onyxia was, if I'm rating the Onyxia from Wrath of the Lich King, it's like an easy demon. It's like forgettable raid. Not the worst one ever, but quite forgettable. I think I'm gonna leave it as didn't do as the current content. Okay, I think this MC on F Mountain Current. Yeah, but I've never done MCs. Okay, let's see. See, Uldir, Gruul, DI, Firelands. Looks fine, I suppose. D plus Magi, Trial, Day of Eternity, Emerald Nightmare, Mogushan, Crucible, and Throne of the... I'm thinking of moving Magteridon's lair to C, guys. Because the more I think, the more I realize that I had some good fun in the Magteridon. I think it was my first or the second 25-man raid ever. We did it like 3 AM, so it was a lot of fun as well. Based on those couple of things, I think I'm gonna put it to C. This one can stay the same. Vault of Archaeon, Baradin Hall, the Battle for Mount Hyjal, Terrace of the Endless Springs, and Ruby Sanctum can be here. All that Deathwing flying around, killing just to find his fingers. Yeah, the more I think about the Shema, the more I realize Dragon Soul is an easy F, man. Not actually too much to think on that. Well, honestly, I think that's it. Can't really think of anything else that should be affected at all. No, like, I think it looks fine. Like, one of these days I'm actually going to rate the end bosses as well, but for now, I think this is good enough. So there we go. I'm gonna actually make a picture of this. Should be able to download this over here somewhere. Oh well, what's the time? Jesus Christ, it's midnight. I didn't think it was gonna take this long, guys, but this one took us almost an hour and 40 minutes. Time flew by. Oh, I am blind. Oh. Are you going off soon? Yeah, I was planning on going off soon, yeah, Rezoss. Why? Let me just see if I can... Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, I can actually share this on Twitter as well. I'm not gonna share it like this though. I'm gonna download the image and upload it later. Okay, there we go. Done and dusted.